It's day one, and here we are already self-criticizing. Yay, go me. When this channel became a thing officially 1 year ago, I never expected the way I review things to change so drastically. And it all stemmed from a personal debacle of tackling one specific anime, Erased. A little backstory, back when I was on Anime America, I was requested to make this review via their Patreon, and at the time, I was working on something else, but would get to it promptly. Until I decided to leave. Once I became my own agent, I made it my goal that the first review on the channel would be Erased, as a way to honor the person who specifically requested me, while in turn being a work that signified the end of a journey for me, in order to start afresh, going forth my own path. I remember when making the review how much quality I wanted to put into this video than I normally did. How much I wanted to say and experiment with, and this is where I came to my main hurdle. Erased is a mystery anime, and a popular one at that. By that point, much of the community were already talking about its cinematography and very underwhelming reveal. From my impression, I thought that since everybody and their mother were talking about it, that I would be easily able to talk about the show in full force. But just in case, I decided to try out a new format for the review by making a spoiler-free section in the beginning. Then the rest would go into spoiler territory from there. The ending result? Well, you can look at it for yourself and tell me what you think. Honestly, I don't know what I was expecting when making the review this way. Of course everyone would bow out after this point to avoid spoilers. I can't expect everyone to be in the know. It's like I was asking the analytical gods for a solution to an impossible problem. Really though, I guess I'm more upset of how much time and effort it took to finish this review than see that no one watched most of it because of my own unfortunate design. I had various things on my mind at the time about how I will become a new person from this channel, how I could make it on my own and feel more visible to people as me and no one else, and what I could do to make my content more original and genuine. One half of me sees this review as a blemish of my previous way of thinking. Then again, a mystery was never my strong suit when it came to critique, because mystery anime banks on the natural exposure of the work, and being spoiled to the show like Erased, where the mystery is overarching and cinematic, ruins the point of watching it. After Erased was reviewed, I try now to make my reviews shorter, snappier, less tied to the bumper style of introducing segments, and be more freeform. Personality-wise, I think I'm doing okay on that front now. At least I feel like my content is slowly becoming more fleshed into the person I am. Is my script still chicken scratch? You bet your sweet bubby they are, but that's how I roll. And how I do the roly-poly as the silly, better pronunciating, chicken scratch spelling, loud performer that I want to be. Is that? To keep things short, Erased as an anime changed how I review the medium. Movement, whatever you want to call it. It's a reality check on my insecurities, but a hindsight into what I wanted to do most. Now I hope for only two things. That the person who requested that review someday takes a look at it, flaws and all. And that some people on YouTube will stop making videos telling smaller YouTubers to stop being YouTubers, because what are you guys to say you're off with your money-making selves, sitting here on top of your brown nose and high horses? Jeez. Telling people this and that while sitting pretty, cause I'd like to see you be told off by someone bigger that you shouldn't be on YouTube, and you see how funny that is. I need a bagel.
Pizza Bagel Bites. Bite-sized pizzas on wholesome little bagels.
Wow, those colors, man. All the hippy-dippy colors. I have mixed feelings about this season. Admittedly, I didn't get into reading the manga until part 5, just out of curiosity, and while I do like what I'm seeing so far, I do see some semblance of what people meant when they say that this part is some of people's low point. At the time of writing, the anime is on episode 10, and already this season feels disconnected from the previous. Too disconnected, if you get what I'm saying. What I liked about previous JoJo's is that everything felt interconnected as the series tried to have things lead from one bloodline to the next. Gold Experience's connection otherwise felt lazy with the whole Kunoichi showing up in Italy for a few episodes and that's it. To me, part 5 does feel like a bizarre adventure, but not a JoJo's one. Rather a part Dio hijacked through his son because he's dead now and there's obviously no other way to make the series more interesting, now is there? Hey guys, This was the Shannon of 4 hours ago. Yeah, I'm still editing this on the day of. I kind of got procrastinated. But anyway, what you just heard I was kind of wrong about now that I'm kind of more caught up in the ethos of all of the JoJo's wares. I will only say that it does do more JoJo tropes than I thought it would. However, it's still very lazily done, and I do still stand by the fact that this is the weakest JoJo part. Now with my new brown context, it just feels like a bizarre adventure with a JoJo slap of paint on it. Yeah. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Let's get back to the 12 Days of Anime. Standalone-wise, this season so far has some really awesome fights. I love the way the battle mechanics of Part 4 are starting to shine through here, as each fight seems more calculating and evolving than the previous seasons. And more gruesome. This is the gangster part after all. It wouldn't be fitting if people weren't tortured in unique ways. Finally bringing us to the topic of today. Episode 7's dance montage made my season. In context, it's a perfect combination of ruthless horseplay, synopsis with that sweet JoJo's flair, while out of context, hey, this is just screaming meme baits, but don't take my word for it. Let's look at some examples. Sets the scene apart from other JoJo's attire is how much visual imagery is showcased here. I adore the psychedelic portrayals of this gang member's suffering. It nicely illustrates the mindset of our ongoing cast. With the bonus that this series brings true to the musical roots that tie this franchise together. The wacky dance and music should feel out of place in any other work, but for JoJo's thing, it's as natural as day and night. I don't know, I really don't have much else to say besides, while being a recent moment this year, episode 7 of season 5 is a fun reminder of why I still stick to this franchise. JoJo memes and all. A Place Further Than the Universe is a powerful anime about following your ideals despite the obstacles. For an original work, it pulled no punches, kept things lighthearted when they needed to be, but most impressively, the show was allowed to tell a deep narrative all the way to its completion without feeling compromised by the status quo of anime cliches. It wasn't perfect all the time, but let's just say by the time I got to the finale, I wanted to cry in the corner for a whole 2 days. Originally, I wanted to talk about this finale and how it meant so much to me, but it felt like it would rob people of seeing this amazing series blind. So for today, I have 2 smaller moments that happened earlier in the series that reflects what I've been going through when I think about doing this YouTube channel. The first happened in episode 5 when Megumi, Mari's childhood friend, warned her that someone is spreading bad rumors about her and Shiraize? Oh, you know, that black-haired girl, before they leave on their expedition. But through a desire to change herself and wanting to follow through with this dream, Mari gets over this social hurdle in order to tell Megumi that she will be alright and that she doesn't want to be someone that has to rely on Megumi forever. Only then does the situation get complicated, when Megumi reveals that she's been the one spreading the rumors around school, seemingly out of jealousy, and the rest of the episode takes the position to resolve the friends' conflict. In my opinion, I do not feel angry for what Megumi did. In fact, I find it more courageous that she was able to reveal those feelings of hers. Those feelings of being left behind through realization that she was the one who was relying on her friend's dependency of her. Yeah, it was normal for Mari to always be in trouble, but it felt nice in Megumi's eyes to feel like she was needed. But now that, however you say her name, got into the picture and gave Mari a desire to move forward, Megumi couldn't help but feel like she was being thrown away or left in the dust. It reflects my desires to not feel left behind as a 20-something-year-old, trying to find my own path, and blaming her for those malicious thoughts would be defiling my own insecurities. I mean, before this episode, everyone in school was already ridiculing Mari and What's-Her-Face anyway, thinking they would never actually go on this trip regardless. She could have just kept quiet and never got caught. But the fact that she admitted these feelings speaks volumes for the type of person she is, and I think in the end that's more important than anything else. The other moment pertains to the next episode, where the 4 girls finally make it to Australia, and we see small snippets of what the other crew members left behind in order to go on this journey. Some lost precious relationships, others are trying to find themselves, and in the case of the captain, a second chance at redemption. It's a scene that amalgamates the notion that this is more than just a show about cute girls doing cute things. It's a journey where many livelihoods are being tested. The success or failure is dependent on ones who will follow through and keep going. Already by this point in the show, where we passed the preliminary question of what will you do to start your dream. But now it was about facing it head on, with every consequence at stake for the small moments of self-exhilaration. At least that's what I got from it. Episodes 1 through 6 parallel my getting there phase, as I made plans to get this channel off the ground. Afterwards starts my long trek to see where things go, and hopefully I'll feel fulfilled in the end. Though I wouldn't know what the seasickness would represent in my life. Yet, maybe it's foreshadowing me to not order too much takeout. Whatever.
Hello everyone, Lamplight here, or Viewing the Light rather, and Miss Shannen is doing the 12 Days of Anime event and was wondering if any of her editors had moments that they wanted to share too, so here I am. Now I'm terrible when it comes to keeping track of anime in any degree, but one of the few shows that stuck around with me was Agretsuko. I went into the show knowing it was more than just a cute anime about animals in the workplace, mind, but even then this show hits so close to home in many ways, as I'm sure it did for a lot of people. And this moment that I'm talking about today was an excellent example of how this portrays the balance of themes in this entertaining and yet terrifying existential crisis. For the handful that haven't seen the show up to this point, Retsuko is an office worker that de-stresses via death metal screaming in a karaoke booth, with a microphone she always carries around for that occasion. Yay! And like any strange hobby that brings joy to life, Retsuko tries to keep this a secret from her coworkers. But through the combination of an omniscient Oga instructor and the 2 inquisitive higher-ups in the company, Retsuko is forced to show her metal side when, through the power of protein, her sacred song is input by her friend. There's a lot to unpack in this scene, but just go up on this. Anyway, once the song is input, Retsuko relents and shows her true voice, which is a huge relief to her since she can finally let loose to someone, at least anyone, that she can trust. This is one of the mini climaxes of the show, more notable than any of the other metal moments for Retsuko. The series is all about the struggle of balance between work and play. This is exemplified through a lot of characters' demeanor at work, how they all say so plain or professional, and we as viewers don't get many chances to see that cast out of work. There is a divide for a reason. Work and play is crucial but often not together, and for what I've seen in Japanese culture, even more so. This subverts the image of the worker in this universe, and a huge reason why I like Agretsuko. She still rebels in her own way, against the established norm of the life she hates, but always in private, never in public. Now mind you, she does fall into certain cultural traps in other ways, but those ways are more logical considering her position in life in the show. But that's a video for another day, maybe. Anyway, thank you for your time, and have a good day, and onwards with the 12 Days of Anime Christmas. Thank you. Also, it took me way too long to figure out that Washimi was a secretary bird. Like, that joke is right there, and I didn't even say it!
Each year, there's a time in which the viewer will feel a sense of, oh, what? In an anime that made them think and be very, very confused in the process. For me, it was this giraffe from Reberne Starlight. This f***ing giraffe! Here I was ready to watch a thematic and inspiring show about following your dreams on stage. And then he gets added to the mix for seemingly no reason. Yep. It soon became my sole hook into keeping up with this series. Though over time, I soon came to love this show for its characters and set design, but that's beside the point. This omnipotent, with big air quotes, giraffe still to this day drove me on a solo mission to find out what its purpose was, and it became a private obsession of mine. How it talks, its voice actor, who I later found out to be motherfucking Seto Kaiba, and its very human desire for seeing the perfect stage play. I needed to know everything. Everything. What I found, in all seriousness, was very philosophical, but also what? So, get this, right? This giraffe governs what the stage girls are aiming for as some judge in order to find the top star. The girls who participate all want different things from being top star, and to do so, they must set a performance that can be matched by no other. However, the natural state of the highly competitive system is toxic as it breeds a give the people what they want mentality, which could in turn cause unhappiness for these performers. As the series went on, I still couldn't understand why these girls were performing in a competition where the only audience was this random giraffe. Magical or no, wouldn't it be really hard to judge a competition with only one person in the audience who could have their own soul biases despite being a judge, especially for a show about a medium that lives or dies on the support of a physical live audience? Well, you see, it was a giraffe that got me into the show, and it was a giraffe that got me that answer. Now, I would show you this clip in full detail if I wasn't scared of YouTube's copywriting the pants off this video, so I will be saying the quote in its stead. Ah, the power of editing. The stage is composed of both those who perform and those who are spectators. The performer stars on stage, and as long as the spectators wish for them to be there, they will remain. Right. You did this to continue watching over the girls. I do not want to make this performance end part way. Though I am a spectator who loves the stage, I am the host of the Stage of Fate, the eternal moment of the stage girls that shine bursting forth. I want to see that. Yes, along with you. Oh God, he's looking at me. He knows. From here, I now understood. This giraffe is no judge, because that would forgo a level of unbiasedness, which from past episodes is clearly not the case. What they do conclude is that he is but an audience member watching along. Watching with us. That's why the rows of seats were always empty, because in this context, we are those seats. The art of theater isn't like TV or the internet, where its magic can be easily preserved in reruns or playbacks. No. The stage is an art form best watched in person. It's like the giraffe said, as long as there are spectators, those performers have a place to stay. Whether we desire to see one type of performance or another is still tied to a desire to want a satisfying performance. The giraffe may have had an idea of what type of stage he wanted to see, preferences and all, but what he actually got in the end was a stage even more satisfying than he ever imagined. It reminds me of when I want to make videos, and whether I should make something that I find passion with at the cost of growth, compared to a trend that I would have to drop everything I'm doing for, with a chance at a better payoff. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I don't like some of those trendy ideas for videos, or similar to the anime, I would not be unhappy to make them if they weren't my passion project. It's just realistically, sometimes having to add the more known ideas, like seasonal anime reviews or reactions about the latest news, makes me feel overwhelmed sometimes. Like a stage girl, if I don't consider the option to know what's a popular trend, I won't grow the way I want to. But if I chase it way too often, I'll lose what makes my channel personally fun to do. But I find nuance in this quote the giraffe has said, because while you, the viewer of this video, are my judge, I don't think it would be rude to say you watch because you desire something from it. Maybe you know what it is, maybe you don't. But for me, the content creator, I have to remember that my stage needs to be something that will make me happy. And from being happy, I believe that an audience will come. I shouldn't make a stage where I expect you to feel a certain way, because that would be rude to you, the viewer, as I can't force you to enjoy my performance. What I can always do, however, is perform. Perform to my best ability, and to an ability that I find satisfying to myself, regardless if it is following a trend or not. Then in the end, when that performance is done, I can confidently face you and say thank you for watching my work. On a side note, I learned the reason giraffe was a giraffe was because the word in Japanese means Kirin or Kirin. In Chinese myth, a Kirin was a creature with a scaled, covered hoofed body and a head similar to in the shape of a Chinese dragon with 1 or 2 horns. It represents in Chinese myth to be the 3rd most powerful creature in a ranking to tout the other beast of legend. But in Japan, it stands on top, ranking all other beasts. Kinda like being the top star. Hehehe. That damn giraffe. I wanted to dedicate the halfway point of the 12 Days of Anime to looking back at a moment that reflects all my personal low points this year. And I am grateful for what I do have so far. I finished my 5 years of college, got my bachelor's degree in video art track, which is very versatile in this career climate, and I went to many seminars on getting tips and tricks on making a living income. Yet, I felt no fruit bearing in the pathways I sought out. While I look onto my LinkedIn page to see many of my old friends from high school have having a grand old time, being in big positions, starting their own businesses, and even married to kids already. I know what I want to do, but that spark I need to jet set into motion just hasn't happened for me yet. And thus I wait from temp job to temp job in order to achieve the thing I want. So as I have stated plenty of times before, it was my aimlessness that was the meat of my depression for most of this year. Well, besides the little fact that I broke up with my boyfriend in July. I was the one who ended it for various reasons, but that doesn't mean I don't feel like crud for doing it. Hence my purge into slice of life anime began. And a depression video I made a couple of months back to reflect that. Link in the card description. Today I want to go in more detail on Roku Hodo and the moment within that really spoke to what I need to do to keep my spirits up. To be brief on the synopsis, Roku Hodo is a Jose slice of life about a man who inherits a sweet shop from his late grandfather and runs it with the weight and consequences of following in his footsteps. Along for the ride are his co-workers who for their own reasons join him to make a warm, inviting place for anyone and everyone to enjoy. My favorite part of this series is how each one of the employees have relatable perspectives into being in this business venture. Whether that's honoring your grandfather's legacy and hoping to make your own unique traditions, even if it's at the opposing opinion of your brother, or you're just an artist who just wants to see your crafts appreciated and used with love and care. But the moment I want to talk about comes from Gurei, the happiest one in the bunch. In episode 8, Gurei meets this gloomy kid at the park that was skipping school for various bullied loser kid who can't please his parents trope reasons. You know, the works. His life seems to be void of happy emotions and it sucks having no support. For the bulk of the episode, Gurei tries to connect with him, on occasion sticking with it, hoping to cheer him up. After some time, he finally convinces the kid to come to the restaurant to try some espresso. In anxious confusing, the kid wants to know why does he care about him? Why not just leave him alone? Why would he understand his concerns when from his point of view, Gurei is a cheerful person who can easily get friends and has a place to belong, so why? In which Gurei replies with his backstory. When he was younger, he was just like that kid. He hated everyone around him and wished they all vanished into the ether. Until, long story short, he met someone that gave him the push in the right direction to find that smile in life. And then this quote came into the episode. Kid, don't expect the people around you to change for you. The world is unfair. There are tons of things you'll never change. Nothing will come from being upset about it. If that frustrates you, try changing yourself first. In my context, my version of that boy's plight was feeling like I'll never find that stable financial foothold in life before everyone else I knew around leaves me behind. I'm scared of my potential stagnation as a 20-something. I understand most 20-somethings have also felt this way, but the mixture of frustration and doubt can sometimes keep me up at night. But when I think back to that quote, my interpretation to my situation is as follows. Don't expect the situations to change like that. The world is indeed unfair. There are certain things I just can't control, whether that be who I see in an interview or the outcome to how many career fairs I go to. If I'm frustrated, I should seek out what I can do in order to push forward. For me, this YouTube channel is one of those answers. While you can say that the message isn't profound, the execution of this moment made me also remember that I do have people who give me support. My mom and my brother, some of my YouTube friends I've made this year, my personal friends who I hold dear, and some of you guys out there watching this video. And that's why I feel better to keep going to find other ways to get my feelings out there. This is why I'm happy I watched this anime. And having the gratifying reminder of why duck boats are still a thing in parks. The community can be sensational. Hello everyone, we are already at day 7. Time flies when you're making videos while combating Mr. Cold. Today I wanted to talk about something different than the usual A equals B meaning, and actually talk about something Christmas related for once. Well, Christmassy to me. Back in college when I joined the local anime club, because of course I did. We had this ongoing tradition into watching a certain anime movie, Satoshi Kon's Tokyo Godfathers. A trio of homeless people come across a baby who was thrown away in the trash one night. After trying their best to take care of her, they realize that life on the street just isn't a place for a baby, and decide to go on a journey to look for a parent to get an answer as to why they would throw a precious life away. Now, obvious metaphor to the nativity Christmas tale aside, personally I liked how the movie juggles that fine line between its very sad moments and heartwarming ones, as the journey is used to help flesh these 3 characters out and give them a chance to learn more about themselves. With the wonderful characters, writing, and art direction, if you're looking for a new movie to see this holiday, I do highly recommend it. But I didn't bring it up today just to review it. Oh no. The real reason I brought up this movie was because of my college friends and I calling it every year what shouldn't always have been called. Miracle Baby, the movie. Yep, one of the funniest things in this tale is how over the top the coincidences are when protecting this baby. Like the infamous pharmacy scene. When the group is sitting inside to keep the baby warm as it's crying, the employee comes by and in the kindest way possible asks them to get the f*** out. I mean, again, he didn't say to get the f*** out, but we all know what he wanted. And with that random drunk ridiculing them for their homelessness stinking up the place, the following scene was a lot rewarding. Because the moment they did leave, a vehicle comes smashing into the pharmacy at the exact place they were sitting. And don't get me started on that gunpoint scene or the movie's finale. You do not play with this magic baby. It's like a sign from God, which could be an allegorical point in itself, but regardless, I remember this movie fondly because of the times I shared with it in the anime club. While there were situations that caused some mishaps and the management of the club's leaders were put into questions, in the end, there was still this sense of camaraderie we all had in common when we conversed about our favorite anime there, or any type of nerd thing from the nerd lunch table. Yeah, we were that table, and everyone knew it. But it was fun. When I look back at it all now that I have graduated, I see that maybe I still watch this movie around the same time of year because I miss them and wonder what they are doing now. Like most people, I didn't like every part of college, but I do miss my days during that time. Alas, the chicken must be fried at some point, so I must face my future with a bold crispiness too. Well, I didn't see that being my closing sentence, but that's what happens when you forget to eat at 9 in the morning. Also, be nice to homeless people, kids, or you may face the wrath of the all-powerful truck coon.
Oh lord, I'm back again! Hello, the Anime Misfit has asked for another editor moment that they recall from anime in general, and this one is less strange and more surprising. Like, this series was a lot better than I thought, even though I had no idea what it was surprising. I'll show you the beginning scene of episode 1, and I'll let you guess what kind of show it is. Oh, and here's an example of the show's intro. Did you guess a show that satirizes but also educates you about aspects of Japanese culture? Cause that's what it is! Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, or Goodbye Mr. Despair, is a show about a terribly pessimistic and practically suicidal high school teacher and his class full of students that each represent a quirk of Japanese society. The jokes in this show range from subtle to over the top, and each have interesting ways of being portrayed. Like the episode about family in a very literal sense, where the teacher has to go back to his hometown for an arranged marriage, which ends up being basically him trying to avoid eye contact with all of his female students because if he looks at one of them in the eyes, he has to marry them. Apparently he's a very adept at it too. There's also jabs at things like a hikikomori, where the student just does not leave her house, even though I think in later episodes she does leave her house? She just has a blanket on. The student who barely speaks, ever, if she does, but is so abusive through text. That's relatable. Oh, my Facebook group. Hi. And an episode that picks on doujins in the Yankoma format. Now, not to say that there aren't serious topics in these episodes, far from. There are actually serious topics about it because, again, it's about Japanese society and every part of it. The teacher himself has several moments that, even though he's very paranoid about everything, does have a good point to raise about a lot of things. He sees things in a negative light almost all the time and is trying to tell his students to do the same thing, but that sometimes doesn't quite stick when it comes to some of their own views and how they can diverge from his own. It shows perspective through this kind of weird satirizing. And there are some times when the students really go through a lot of trouble, and other students or the teacher step in to help them. The show treads this fine line very well between this kind of parody and seriousness. You feel for the characters as humans and not just some kind of quirks put into human form. Well, okay, you feel for some of them. Some of them are just outright. Being honest, it's been a while since I've seen the show, but it definitely stuck with me. I'm gonna try and rewatch it after this. There are other seasons too, and admittedly I don't have the patience or the money to seek out the manga, but the show has a quite unique art style at times, and the writing flows well in each episode. I remember there being an overarching story, kinda, but each episode is mostly standalone, so you can kind of jump in and out. So if you've wanted to learn about Japanese society quirks and relate to a sense of paranoia that a lot of people have, then this show is for you. Seriously, give it a shot. It's weird and good. Apple picking a beam!
Scary things, overly gorish things, Anything of the corpse party level of craziness are some of the things I stay away from, and then some. Therefore, it's safe to assume that horror anime isn't my first choice. Nope, that is a 10-4, good buddy. Don't get me wrong, I can watch creepy things and unsettling moments when it's not jump scared or pushed right in my face, a la the Saw franchise. Because come on, some of these kills are just spectacle now. But I am always a proud card-carrying member of the Scaredy Cat Association, with no strings attached. See you later, Mike Myers. Hello, Charlie Brown Halloween. However, this year was different in that I wanted to get out of my comfort zone and watch something scary like a big girl. Yeah! Not something with a little dread or stuff on the side. Nope, I wanted a bona fide experience, darn tootin', since I'm a big kid now. I was determined. This year saw 3 attempts courtesy of my close friends who I wouldn't trade for the world. With attempts 1 and 2, my friends suggested that I join them in watching both the first season of American Horror Story and Hannibal. The result? Well, the former, after watching up to episode 4, I did what any preteen who wanted to follow the hype did and skipped to the last episode, both because I was tired of all the melodrama and, baby horror. Yeah, let's go with that. Baby horror. As for the latter, not gonna lie, I cried a lot. After the second episode out of fear. It was scary to me, so shut up. Which leads me to my final attempt to adult a scary piece of media. That media being what you're seeing in the title of this video. Really in hindsight, I should have tried this out first before anything, because at least I know anime enough to stay away from what I could easily scare me, and instead give me the personal confidence to see it more than, oh, the humanity, take it away, take it away. Happy Sugar Life initially was a show on my radar this year, but didn't put much priority to sit down and watch it. You know, being horror and all. I procrastinated very, very purposely. That was until I asked my friend Hazel if she would sit down and watch it with me. That way I would have an easier time to watch it. A little fun fact about my friend Hazel. And for the rest of the video, we will be using this bag of cashews to represent her. Don't question it. Anyway, out of my personal friend group, I always admired my friend Hazel for her array of words and vocabulary. She always knew what to say and helped me through certain times with her eloquent nature. Not to mention, the literal fact that she has a big love for horror stuff. Yeah, that probably helps too. Because of her, I was able to give this show the chance it deserved. I like how methodical the psychological horror was. It was eerie, but in a way that slowly burned into your consciousness. I was always on the edge of my seat, assuming that there would be a moment in the anime where that pink-haired train wreck would snap, and yet, it's only when the anime was at its calmest that I feel the full wrath of the horrific events. When I was watching the show about defiled innocence, mind manipulation, and twisted ideals with my friend, while I was still scared during a few moments, I understand better why people watch horror anime now, especially since I found one that I actually can take apart in at my own pace. Of course, I wouldn't have been able to overcome my personal goal of watching it without Hazel. So this moment is for my friend and knowing that I don't have to face or be ashamed of disliking horror stuff alone. Rather, I feel encouraged that such an anime was able to bring me and my friends closer, as I share not only my love of anime, but the emotions that get wrapped up within it. Sappy, isn't it? And hey, maybe my horror tolerance got a little better. I can say now that I can delay my skipping of the Five Nights at Freddy's playthrough by 2 extra seconds now. Don't judge me. Reverse harem anime! The thing that just doesn't die on this channel. What can I say? It plays to me demographically, like the squirrel in Ice Age going for that nut. We all know what it wants, and we all know eventually what it's not gonna get. But hey, that's just how things are, huh? What was I talking about? Oh yeah! Out of the 3 reverse harems we got this year, Phantom of the Twilight made the most impact with me because of its solid female lead and tone. It's true that the princess from Dame X Prince was funnier, more blunt, and did her own thing, though I prefer Tone's value as a lead that takes over her story in a clear manner. The problem with a lot of female harem leads is that they are normally written to rarely drive their plot on their own will, and rather through a lot of coincidences and sugary waifu kindness. or husbando kindness in this sense. Maybe it's the action part of the show, but Tone was the de facto driver of her situation, surroundings, and consequences, as well as those in her harem. And no, this was not just achieved because she had super red hair powers that glowed in her might to destroy her foes. I think the real test of merit came from how the show used her with purpose and variety. I remember this moment early in the anime where she walked in on Vlad half naked, and the usual thing you would get from the protag is the freaking out with the blushing and all that jazz. But Tone instead just came over, put her hand on his chest, and kept it moving. Some would say her lack of tact makes her kinda off-putting, but I disagree. She's a character that, when having a single goal in mind, doesn't fuss too much on the little details, with an end result that doesn't make her situations feel cliche for the viewers watching. Though that brings me to the reason I brought her up in the 12 days in the first place. This year for me saw a trend in where anime I watched would have a few things I adored in the show, despite the rest of it being kind of bad. Obviously bad. Yet I still would recommend people to watch it. Phantom in the Twilight has an awesome female lead, but the visuals were sometimes crappy. The villain sucked. Half the harem was melodramatic and boring, especially Vlad. And the plot kept getting real repetitive with the Shions getting kidnapped every other episode. Or like in another anime, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce because of all you well actually people. The visuals are so bad in that anime that even on layman's terms I can confidently say that. And yet the show's slow pacing, reliable characters, and writing shine through. I enjoyed it so much. Maybe I'm the only one who thought so, but there seemed to be more anime like that this year where it was showing more obvious signs of quality problems than the previous. I mean, with so many anime coming out, it's becoming more plain as day of the production problems going on with certain anime. Or in the case of Mare-chan Mai-chan, an anime with so many production problems, it never finished its 12-episode run, which it was a bad anime as a whole, but at least you can save face by finishing. So what I'm trying to say is, from the person who reviews anime occasionally, these examples tested my inner reviewer brain of what I look for in a series this year. Not only for enjoyment, but learn to be more flexible in what I watch and how I can explain to why I like watching it, with the hopes that it makes better and more genuine reviews to come. Moral of the story is, it may look like a duck and quack like a duck, but still be careful, for it could be a goose in disguise. The large honking bastards walking around traffic like they own the place. Banana Fish disappoints me. That's right, this is a day of venting because I'm just too tired of this anime manhandling my emotions. No pun intended. For those not in the know, Banana Fish is a drug cartel action drama originated from a manga published in 1985. It is headed production-wise from one of my favorite anime studios, MAPPA, which I know it's them this time, and not when I accidentally confused Sunland Saga for a trigger work. At the time, I was still in a stasis of post-trucker excited mortis. You'll know what I mean if you've seen it. Anywho, call this anime my disappointment for the year, for I have been and still currently have a hard time watching it through post-to-jail episodes. Positives-wise, I like the soundtrack, I like the updated modern setting, and as I said back during my summer impressions, which finally came out of copyright takedown, woo! Had a couple of solid opening episodes. I'm finding more problems with my personal enjoyment the more I watch this though. I think my most saddening thought is that it's so painful for me to watch, so let me explain why. My main personal issue I had was that it felt more dated than it tries to come off to be. Now MAPPA. Terra and Residence prove that you know how to make modern pieces, so you can't pull the difficult to adapt card. What makes it dated, you ask? Well, wait, we are in the 2010s. How do I say this without offending anyone? Oh, I know. In a way, the conflict surrounding homoeroticism feels like one of those DARE campaigns you saw back in the day, where everything about the subject was demonized under any scientific backing or leniency for the socially gray areas. Nope, it was either this or it was either that. No exceptions. So, when I first saw the library scene, which I'm not gonna show because I don't want to get demonetized, I was like, hot dang, that was intense. But it kinda added on to the stakes. But as the story went on, I became more numb and confused. Numb because every time a bad guy showed up, it was always followed by a desire to torture the main cast with sexual abuse. Why? Why was it every time someone tried to go after Ash's bootay? Even Arthur, his so-called rival and hater of all things not hair gel, also wanted to get some at one point. Why? It kept happening so much to Ash and Eiji that it felt expected and I shouldn't feel numb to sexual abuse. And on top of that, for me it gave me an eerie undertone for the series that the only way Ash would find comfort in something or someone is if they didn't want to, study him in the non-fiction section. As for why I felt confused pertains to my uncertainty of whether Banana Fish wants to truly be a modern retelling or just a period piece. Because it kind of fails on both accounts. One minute you got this modern setting and the smartphones and all that technology in place, but then you have all these 80s cliches of random new bad guys showing up every major moment through brief pauses of togetherness where like a Saturday morning cartoon gets interrupted with some trap because Eiji wanted to be Eiji, and the really resembling Chinese cultural tie-ins. It just feels misguided on how they want to adapt this work. If they are trying to make it a statement, it comes off as 30 years too late and too old. And if they just want to preserve what was there, then put it in the 1980s, goddammit. But you know, Mappa, I get it. Parasite and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure were setting a trend of making the retcons retro again. And you just wanted that piece of that pie to board the go-go train of trending, to slap the ass of capitalism. But as for me, I just want two things from you. A, that your next work has a clearer vision of what it wants to do, and B, a happy ending for my boys already, come on! I just want to see Ash and Eiji put to rest. Not dead, I didn't mean dead. I mean just happy and okay. All the constant back and forth with not much time to recollect. Just let them be for a while so I can sleep soundly at night that there's a light at the end of their suffering. Oh, I need a blanket and something soft to cuddle. Merry Christmas! Ring those bells and chuck that fruitcake because we made it, folks. Made it to the end of the 12 days of anime. If this all comes out on time, then this will be my personal blessing. But nonetheless, I wanted the final day to highlight my favorite moment this year by far. Going to Anime Boston and the people I met along the way. That trip was the thing I needed most after first feeling alone in the YouTube realm of things. Heck, I couldn't even go if it wasn't for one of my fans making that possible. It was one of those wonderful things that made me feel like I do have a place here. But anyway, Megan from the Dub Talk channel introduced me to everyone over on Team Bad Decisions in person, and it felt nice talking to a group of otaku in person again, since I don't get that much exposure from home. Gigi and Lilac, who shared the room with me, were really nice people and really fun gals to just talk about random shit with. I was scared at first if I was being too intense with my personal space and all, but hopefully that wasn't the case. Though I got to know the beauty of Sword Boys. All the Sword Boys. It was my first time too making a vlog to record my things. I wish I got more footage and did more things, but I was just focusing on having too much fun with the new connections I had. I also met other YouTubers who would talk to me about their experiences. Tristan, aka Arcada from Glass Reflection, talked to me a lot about reviewing style and my fears of Reddit. While Professor Otaku was patient in me when I was asking that really embarrassing question about Gundams. And then there was Zenith. My girl, she was awesome. She taught me so many things about the algorithm and editing that I was glad I was able to meet someone completely new, and now I can talk to them full-heartedly, even for times to come. Speaking of lasting friendships, it was just good talking to Megan again. Not just about YouTube stuff, but on just the latest shows and low-key things. It made me feel homely and it was nice. The other major reason I was happy to go to Anime Boston was for seeing my friend Alva. This was the first time in a while I was able to meet up with a friend I knew specifically to such an event instead of just tagging along. So it was a treat to feel like I had a deeper connection to going. Overall, what Anime Boston and this 12 Days of Anime project has taught me is that, yeah, maybe my first year on YouTube had some bumps, trials, and uncertain feelings, but I'm not alone. I'll keep climbing as long as I make content. I shouldn't let the drama of YouTube is getting worse harsh my mellow, and nor should I focus on being too ambitious right now, since that's biting me in the booty for how many times I've changed my scheduling. I just gotta keep up with my things and it will work out somehow. And to all of you who have watched all 12 days, I thank you ever so much. As a certain Nickelodeon show from the mid-2000s about a boy and his chalk would say, Merry Chris Hanukkah and a happy Warma Kwanzaa Shannen out!